How do you do market trading?
Well, you buy stuff at a low price and try and sell it at a high price, and that's basically it.
How do you tell if something's lower than whether it's high?
What?
How do you tell when something's low versus when it's just bubbling?
How do you tell that? That's not an easy thing to tell, but you have the market history tab in-game. With that, you can generally get a good idea and if something's overinflated in price, and if it is, then there's a good chance that it's bubbled and there's a good chance that it will burst in the near future. So you take a risk if you actively buy and sell those items.
How do you tell how much profit you're going to make on an item?
Well, basically, if you're buying it at a certain price and it's typically selling at a higher price, the profit is the difference between those two minus the cost of the broker fee for putting up the buy order and the tax when you sell it.
How do you determine those taxes and market fees?
Let me remember. I'm not even in Jita on my market trading out, so give me a second.
As you pull up the sales screen, it has a readout of all of that.
Yeah, there's more to it than that though with the broker fee, because that only gives you your base broker fee. It's actually modified by the standings to the faction and also the corporation for that station.
And does that use derived standing, or does that use modified standings, or?
That does just your flat standings unmodified by skills like the standings one, which I forget the name of. What's it called? Ahoda?
Diplomacy. And connections?
Yeah, connections is the one.
Diplomacy for unfriendly?
Yeah, that doesn't modify it. It's the base standings. I will also post a link in. It's not somebody who hasn't asked the question, but it is a thread to a... Oh no, it's not the right link. Scratch that. Any questions?
Yeah, so if I'm new to all the trading stuff, I mean, looking at Jita, there is a whole lot of buy and sell orders. So it feels like you have to update your orders like every 2 seconds because someone else is going higher or lower than you. So what is a good way to get started without, I mean, I don't know, spending hours and hours looking at all the stuff?
Sadly, there isn't a really an easy way to do that. You do have to spend time learning, which can be painfully slow, learning which things are going to work well for you depending on your playstyle. Typically, you can find a lot of items that are very actively traded that have a high profit margin, and you will make a lot of profit if you trade in those potentially, but you can burn out very quickly. There are items out there that have high profit margins, aren't traded quite as regularly, where you can get away with updating every day, maybe every other day, but they are very few and far between. And it took me searching the whole of the Jita market, whatever it is, about 10,000 items, and it took me a long time to find about 200 or so items that I could trade in that way and actually make a decent profit by only updating every day.
Yeah, so what is a time invest that you should calculate for having a trader?
So how long does it take to get a good trader?
Well, that is, I mean, the one question is probably how much train is it to be able to reasonably train, and the other question is probably how much time do I need to expect to invest to get started with trading? Profitable, obviously.
Well, the first question is probably a little bit easier. I will post in a guide. That's on our wiki page, and that goes through what skills you can trade. So you've got the skill trade, which as you train it, for each level you train, you get 4 additional order slots, and that's provided by the dojo. You've also got retail, and each level you train will give you 8 additional order slots, and you can get them from the dojo. And then above that you have wholesale for 16 per level, and then tycoon for 32 per level. I would recommend, if you're starting out, you can train maybe up to retail, level 4, maybe level 5 if you really want. And that will give you a fair amount of slots to sort of play around with. The reason that you should probably utilize those slots is it's not a great idea to invest all of your ISK into a certain item or very few items, because a lot of the things that are profitable at the moment will not continue to be profitable. These things tend to be transient and quite often short-lived. So it's a case that you typically have to learn and change your game and find new items to invest in.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
It's not a good idea. You can get burned very hard. People get greedy. As a Hoda, one of the opening questions was, how do you tell if something's overpriced? People manipulate the markets. Things happens, a new doctrine comes along, and a new module becomes desirable. That can inflate it, and it can take a bit of time for the industrialist to fill that hole. And there's an opportunity for you there to potentially make a lot of ISK. But depending on how that happened, that hole can close up very quickly. And if you entered into that, not at the bottom, but somewhere near the top, you could still make a lot of money, but then you could get stuck quite badly with stock that you have to sell at a loss, and potentially quite a large loss. It's happened before. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me in a couple of items. Not very often, but it has happened.
It happened to me on luxury yachts this year.
It's a risky take, and that's why if you spread over, as I say, my marketing character has 269 slots, and when I was really doing this, and I haven't done it since October because burnout is a real thing. I was nearly using all of them, and it can be tough.
Can you kind of give an overview of what out of Eve, like third-party programs you use? I know there's some like sites or programs that you need for trading.
There are some programs that can really make it a lot easier. Everness is one. It is on, I believe it's on that complete trading guide. There's a section for third-party tools, but Everness can simplify the time it takes for you to go through and update your orders, which is one of the things that, if you get into this, you will find can be quite time consuming. And this allows you to very quickly establish what items have been outbid, and then get to them and modify them by whatever amount you deem appropriate, so you can then be at the top of the pile again.
Is there an app that checks like market prices for the various materials required to manufacture ships and the like, that's auto-updated?
Not that I know of. Do you know something, Norman? This is probably more in Norman's field.
EVIS per hour.
EVIS per hour?
Yep.
I've heard good things about it. Other tools, because that's only one tool that I mentioned. There's a website called Neat. I'll give you a link to it, but this is good for keeping track of how you're performing. Right there, I mean, it seems to go back quite far because I popped on there just to try and refresh myself before the class, and just going back profitability in the last 200 days. I mean, I can mention a couple of items because, as I say, you know, these items don't stay profitable forever. They tend to change, but
What fleet is this chat in?
pardon?
What fleet is this chat in?
We're not in a fleet.
Oh no, okay, it's in like corporate lines.
We're in Mumble.
Oh, it's just Mumble. I thought you guys were.
So yeah, for instance, this allows me to see that back in, it took a while to sell it, but I bought a Syndicate cloaking device for 180 mil on the 21st of August and sold it for 274 mil on the 2nd of September. But then if you consider that you've got a trading character that, in my case, has 269 slots, and you've got these slow bake things happening, you know, it can end up being quite profitable. Any questions?
Yeah, one specific one. Luxury yachts, if I bought at 80, buy or sell?
Well, they're not going to be reseeded, are they? So it's going to be a case of the longer you hold on to them, chances are the more in price they will go up by.
That's what I thought.
And people still seem to fly them about because of the things they can do.
I was just thinking, man, this looks like the next gecko as far as long-term trading.
Yeah, I mean, you hold on to them as long as you. It's going to be a long-term investment. To be honest, I mean, there probably are going to be things that might cause it to fluctuate. Some of the things that typically cause these things to fluctuate, especially if they have been originally introduced to the game and then reintroduced. People speculate around Christmas and the Eve's anniversary because they're afraid that CCP might reintroduce them. So you can potentially take the risk and put in speculative buy orders at low prices, buy up a lot of stock, and then take the risk that they don't re-release it and then sell when the market recovers.
Right on, thank you. 'Cause right now I'm sitting on 194.
Oh, nice.
Oh, also good tip for market guys. If you have a high-sec character that's been doing this, look into getting into incursions to increase your liquid.
Well, incursions are just good outside of doing any work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea to have a reasonable amount to start with. I mean, there's been some Twitch streamers that have been doing a 5,000 ISK to a billion ISK challenge, and so it is possible. But the more you can start with, you can kind of get over the hump and start trading in things that are typically more profitable and more worth your time. Any further questions?
How much ISK do you have? No, I'm kidding.
I did prepare for that. As I say, I haven't done anything since October, so I'm at about 17 bill at the moment. So it's nothing amazing, but I'm quite a lazy trader, so that's fine for me.
17 billion.
Yeah, that's really not that much compared to at least some people in this channel that I know of. And if you start trading and you get good at it, you'll soon appreciate why 17 bill isn't that much. Not that it's easy, because it will burn you out if you really go at it hard, but it will make you a lot of ESC. But it probably make you hate Eve, so it's your choice.
That's the trick. You got to start off hating Eve, and then can't make it any worse.
Yeah.
It's the only game that everyone who plays it hates it.
It's funny like that.
Cruel mistress.
Any questions?
Do you use any spreadsheets in your market trading, or just evenness?
I used to. I used to use spreadsheets specifically for importing. In fact, I was looking for somebody. You might be able to find it from your Hoda if you can. There was a chap from Test that made a little spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet that seemed reasonably good that I wanted to post for people to have, but I couldn't find the link for some reason.
I'm not sure exactly what it does, so I don't think I saw it.
I'll have a go.
I mean, what did it do?
It was basically you could choose the system and station on one side and then another system and station, and it would compare the buy and sell by querying Eve Crest. So it was,
I have one that does that. If you would like that one instead,
you can link it in channel. I mean, if you're happy to.
All spreadsheets should be free. Free the spreadsheet.
So yeah, any further questions?
Yeah, can you explain the relationship between time and return for the new pros?
I can try. Can you elaborate on that? What you want me to
The
explain?
basic concept that time is money.
Right. Well, I mean, it's one of these things. Only you can really value your time, and as you play this game, your time will naturally become more valuable. So it's not really. I'm not going to tell people that their time is valuable. That's really up to them to figure out. But it's quite an inevitable thing. Now my time I consider to be quite valuable when it comes to making ISK. And that can be quite detrimental because I can't be bothered to do almost anything. So.
Yeah, like for instance, if you left a shuttle behind 20 jumps out, jumping that back to Jita to sell it to make your 20,000 ISK back isn't necessarily the most market-wise thing to do.
Yeah, I mean,
the term for that is opportunity cost.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Okay.
Meaning any time you spend doing something else is time you're not spending doing, something that makes you more ISK. So say you're mining in HiSec, right? That's time you're not ratting in nullsec or doing incursions or doing X, Y, and Z, and that's called an opportunity cost.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I don't fuss too much. If I enjoy doing something in Eve, then it doesn't really matter if I'm not min-maxing that process. If I'm enjoying it, then it doesn't really matter. Obviously, if I can make it more efficient, then I will. But I don't personally worry too much about that. But it is a thing. I mean, you should value your time and not do silly things like
mine in HiSec.
Yeah,
I do that.
You calculate it and you work out that you're not making a lot per hour. I mean, what is it? It's like a mil or two per hour, something like that?
Actually, no, it's actually quite good, surprisingly.
With the skills, etc.
Well, yeah, but surprisingly, it's actually not as trash as I was originally expecting. It's not great. It's still a good 30 mil an hour.
Yeah, I mean,
that makes me cringe.
Oh, it's horrible. But I mean, I could do much better than that. But
Yeah, with market trading,
It's peaceful.
I mean, I was updating my orders maybe once a day to once every few days, and I was probably making in the region of about 150 mil, 250 mil a day. But that's going through 260-ish orders, which isn't, the quickest thing to do. But, I guess for your investment of time, that's not a bad thing. But,
It's boring and it can
it
burn.
really is boring.
That's it. Market orders are like my morning coffee routine.
If you can make it into a routine or something, and you do it in a way where you're not absolutely hating it, then it can be a decent way to make it. But people have this erroneous idea that there's no limit to what they can earn through market trading, but there's a finite limit to everything. And the more that you progress in marketing, the more you realise that it's an uphill struggle, and it's only going to get more and more difficult, trying to increase how much you earn per day through it. But I found 150 mil, 250 mil is not a particularly difficult thing to do per day.
Also, steady is good. It's not a race.
Yeah, as I say, even at the pace I was going, I just got bored with it. I just decided, I can't be bothered to do this anymore. I'll go back into it when I find it fun again. Any further questions?
This might be a little out there, but has there been any significant change to the way pauses and reactions work, like the structure like silos and process and so on?
No, not yet. Is the answer.
Good.
They're gonna remove pauses from the game, which is, people don't want to get stuck holding the bag on that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's an interesting marketing question, but I hope is familiar with pauses and reactions, so...
Yeah, I mean, the reaction stuff hasn't changed at all. Actually, Moongoo's gone down a bit, interestingly, overall. But it's very much a thing that since they are going to be changing pauses and getting rid of pauses entirely and moving them to citadels, that there is, a market hole there that people may not be quick to fill.
It's all about the speculation.
Yeah, it's speculations for that.
When is the Citadel thing happening?
If we knew that, then it wouldn't be speculation anymore. It's basically they haven't given us. They've given us a roundabout date, but without a hard one. It's just speculation.
So are reactions being moved to citadels, or are they just being removed?
Pauses are being removed. They will be disappeared.
There's a new structure for moon mining.
Yeah.
Which I haven't talked about much yet.
Yeah, there might be a huge gap in available resources for a little while then.
Potentially, and if you want to speculate, you can buy into certain things and hope.
I mean, they're going to overlap them. They're not going to take one down. Yeah. I mean, they'll either overlap them or they'll turn something into something else. It's not just going to go away.
It'll be overlapped, is what I think they were saying they wanted to do.
So, if I go trading, I mean, obviously, it seems most people trade in Jita. Can I trade in the other trade hubs?
Yeah.
Is there even something like I could? I mean, that's just a crazy idea I had, but obviously, people in low sec have to sell somewhere.
Yeah, it's good. It's
your
genuinely
volume
good.
is going to be worse by a considerable portion, and anywhere outside of Jita or MR, it is a very slow moving. So if you're willing to take the patience that it's going to be slow moving, then it's fine.
Yeah, it's not always quite so clear cut as that. It's different. The markets are different, and it's not always easy to summarize very quickly how they are different. But
yeah.
typically, it's more relaxed. There's less competition. Things don't necessarily move as fast. There can be more opportunities for profit margins because there isn't as much competition. You can corner markets a bit easier. But it's definitely worth doing. GIFT is quite a harsh environment for somebody new to trading to find their feet in. It's what I would call, sort of something you progress into. But something like maybe a Mar or Dodixie or Rens, there's quite a few markets out there. Even some of these smaller places like what's sort of Stack One and stuff like that. There are certain things that you can haul there that sell slower but sell for decent margins.
I would recommend a Mar for the new bro to trading.
I've heard good things. I haven't done it myself.
Amar is slower by a considerable portion compared to Jito, which means you don't have to update your orders quite as often. But you're also not making profit as fast either. So, yeah.
Well, I forget the name of the Rutark. Rutark traded in the Mar, and he was posting some pretty decent profit margins from a Mar. So, I mean, it might seem like that, but it's not always the case. These things, you have to take the risk with these things. Don't go all in necessarily, but just experiment, and you will, and just record the results of your experiments, and you will slowly find what works.
What's so special about Amar? That is the Warp to Me dock up. So that's where the richest players in HiSec go to throw around their ISK. It's typically
Warping is definitely not the richest.
Do what?
That would be TVP.
Well, yeah, of course TVP, but I mean that's a pretty high concentration. That's all I'm trying to say.
So, with that knowledge and the sort of things that they would buy in there, you can carve something out there. I know of traders that do, different. I've got a chap that likes to go out to the further sort of NPC stations where things are seeded there and hauls them back in and sells them in, whatever markets where they sell well, and he makes a decent amount of ISK through it.
I used to follow the incursion communities and watch their channels where their dock ups are. And I used to sell incursion goods at each incursion, like the ammo, shuttles, and stuff. I used to sell shuttles for $1 million a pop to Warp to Me.
Yeah, because there are situations where people, lose their ship and they're desperate. And if you can figure out where those sort of those places are, then seed them and you can make a bit of money, but not necessarily earth-shattering amounts.
But yeah, I had a traveling merchant service. It was a lot of fun to set up.
But yeah, being sort of innovating like that can, if you find something, don't expect it to last forever, because there's always somebody that around that can see what you're doing and figure it out. But you can make some decent ISK. Any further questions? Sorry if I haven't gone into as much depth as you probably would have liked, but as I say, I haven't actively traded since October, so things aren't quite as fresh in my mind as they once were.
What are some of the qualities, like out-of-game skills, that, in your opinion, are good to have if you want to get into station trading?
Insanity.
The out-of-game skills. Could you give me an example?
Excel.
All right. Okay.
For example, if a new bro somebody who's new wants to get into station trading, I've heard it being said that not everything is for everyone. So what kind of helps you out with that?
Being persistent and having a desire to make money in a game which you can not use for anything else apart from buying stuff in the game. I don't know. Eve's funny. It's difficult because you've got to compete against these people that seem to have so much time on their hands. It's crazy. Yeah, that's a difficult question to really answer.
I would say spreadsheeting. Being able to do a decent spreadsheet never hurts.
Well, I mean, we're talking about station trading. For importing, I really needed the spreadsheet, and I learnt a lot about Excel and how to pull information from places like Eve Central or Eve Market Data.
Speaking of which, did you switch your Excel over to Crest?
No, but I saw the links and how to do that. I haven't done it yet.
What
Just
is Crest?
Just want to make sure you had seen the updated version of Crest. Crest is an API that you can pull from. It's the Eve API. Lets you see all market data as it looks in game
Okay.
via spreadsheet.
Used to be you always had to pull that from a scraper, right?
Used to be. But they kind of want to get rid of some of that stuff, and so they're slowly kind of getting rid of things. They can slowly phase out stuff, like in-game browser.
Are you talking about the thing that the chap that
Fuzzy
does
Steve.
Fuzzworks?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wish, because the problem is that Crest is in what was it? F whatever. It's not in XML, which is what Excel handles natively. So it's JSON, isn't it? So that makes it difficult to work with.
Python script. I think he has the script in there even.
He's got a guide on how to do it, but that's probably a bit more advanced for the Q&A at this point. I mean, if there's a desire for it, on the forum post for this Q&A, maybe put a post there, and I'll fill some details in.
If you had it, it was kind of a.
I'm not importing just yet. I mean, I kind of feel like there might be a desire for me to do it in the near future, but at this very moment, I haven't looked at importing since Fountain.
What were some of the most satisfying trades that you've done? Like, cases where you went like, I made it.
I did have a list of the best, most profitable things. On one of my many Chrome tabs, I have probably 30 or 40 open, so give me a sec. Across the monitors.
While he's looking for that, mine was geckos.
Oh yeah.
I made 20 billion on geckos last year.
Nice.
Yep.
I have a couple of friends that got into it when we had that recent bubble, and then didn't get completely burnt, but probably got put off due to the recent crash that they had.
I bought at 30 mil a pop, and I sold at 80.
That's nasty.
And I lived on it for a year during catch and all that stuff.
I mean, I just set up a trader like 3 days ago, so it's really fresh. But yesterday I had like the funniest moment when someone bought some pirate laser crystals off me and immediately sold half of them back to me. So like a 20th of the price basically that he bought them from me.
Oh, you
probably accidentally bought the wrong thing or something.
It's easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was not much money at all, but I mean, the price gap and seeing the same name buying and selling from me was really nice.
But Rutak, one of the chaps that I don't know if he still does a lot of trading, but he had a habit of fat fingering too many of his orders, and quite often he would come into the channel and say, "Oh, I just fat fingered my order. I was meant to put it up at 200 mil, and I put it up at 2 mil." And there are many examples of that happening.
I did that last night with faction hardness.
Sorry, you're a bit quiet.
I did exactly that thing last night with some faction hardeners and wiped out about 50 mil.
It's bad. Well, one of the things you can do to help, and I don't have the information on how to do it to hand, but if you use your number pad in your keyboard, there is a way through the registry that you can disable the enter key, which is usually the easiest way people screw their orders up, because they go for 3 or something and they accidentally hit the enter and the order goes through. But there is a way you can disable it, just to give, if you do it all the time, you know, you're doing orders all the time, you're marketing all the time, it can actually be worth disabling that button. But anyway, back to some of the orders. I mean, one of my most profitable things, for some strange reason, was men's Strider pants black from Jita, and I bought a load at 25 mil and sold them all for about 100 mil. Yeah,
It's always the pants, isn't it?
Clothing's pretty good, to be fair. I don't
Which
really
is
mind.
weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I just kind of noticed that I could buy this stuff cheap, and people would buy it even though it was really expensive. And I mean, the profit margin on these things is 315%. So
That was a smart buy, man. That's a luxury good. People spend money on stupid stuff.
Yeah.
another good one was Comet Police Pursuit skins. Somebody put them up for 30 mil in, I think it was Ansu, and I chucked them into an interceptor and took them to Jita and sold them for about 45 to 40 mil each. That was 18 of them. That was pretty good. Well, yeah, it's opportunistic stuff.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, probably. And those police pursuit skins were really good in Fountain when they were released, because nobody seemed to want to risk bringing them down. But I thought, oh, they're going to sell because people like, you know, they like to go around and pretend they're in a police vehicle. So I brought them down and they sold really well.
Once again, luxury good.
And I suppose the follow-up question would be, what were some of the worst trades you've ever done?
Yeah, sounds like a good question.
Well, they don't really get highlighted. I mean, I might be able to actually order by profit and then look at the bottom.
The ones with the negative profit.
Yeah, actually, yeah, there it's there. The worst one that I've ever had, I think, was a high-grade snake epsilon.
Ooh.
And this is one of these cases where it was overinflated, and what typically happens, somebody will come in and they will clear the sell orders, they will buy them up, and then they will relist them at a higher price. And what happens is the buy orders will slowly start to catch up to that new one, depending on how popular the item is. But once that happens, that item will get flagged up fairly quickly in a lot of programs that look for these things like Everness and stuff like that. So you'll end up with other people that will start to throw in buy orders, and that's what pushes it up. But then if you notice this and you put a buy order in, then you're stuck with that item. And if that bubble bursts and the sell price starts to come down because the buy orders start to get filled and people try and flip them, then you can end up getting stuck at a point where you bought in, but very quickly the sell price has already dropped below that. And that's what happened to me.
That's where I'm at with luxury yachts right now.
Yeah, but with your thing, you can ride these things out. Things typically ebb, you know, they peak and trough. It's very rare, but there are cases where it does happen. Very rare where things just bottom out and never recover, you know. So typically you can hold out. I bought this thing on the 29th of August at 540 mil, and I sold it on the 12th of September at 556 mil. So I still made a marginal profit. I think after fees it was 1.78%. Not a lot really, but that was my worst one so far. I'm not sure if that's a testament to how, you know, with that it's not easy to make mistakes, because it is, but you just got to be careful once you start to get know the signs for when something's good to buy in, or if something's risky but maybe it's worth the risk because of the profit margin. If you're doing that, then you've got to kind of camp your orders, and if something, somebody fills your buy order, you've got to flip it as soon as you can. You need to sell it immediately, which means updating your order every 5 minutes until it sells. It can be quite stressful. Another funny situation I can think of is Elsky had a sell order up for, I think it was a skin or a ship, and for about 500 mil, and somebody bought it for 5 billion.
Nice.
So yeah, he made a bit of profit there. But these things, they do happen, and they will happen to you if you market trade for long enough, but they're not to be relied upon. People will make mistakes with their orders and you will benefit. I think somebody sold me something for 50,000 ISK or something like that, and I sold it for 80 million. I think it was like 3 items, so I made something like 160, 240, something like that. But it's rare.
Will you explain the difference between margin trading in a Brave station and blue fucking?
Right, okay. It's difficult to really... I mean, basically, if somebody lists it up and they're white knighting, as it's called, they're really not taking much of a profit for themselves. Factor in all the costs to get it from Jita to wherever we are, and that percentage is really fine. If you buy all of that up and then relist it, you're blue fucking, and if it can be proven, then you will most likely either get a warning or get kicked from the alliance. That's basically it. I can't think of the top of my head any other ways.
So basically, what the general rule is: don't buy up all the stock of something just to resell it at a higher price in a blue station. But it's completely okay to put a buy order up if someone wants to sell something to you, and
correct.
then resell it at a higher rate.
That's healthy, actually.
Yeah, because it gives people a place to sell stuff immediately.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions there.
Yeah, so it's basically that, don't go there, go, oh, that's really, how the hell is that person doing that? Buy it all up and then relist it, because if you're caught, and you probably will be caught because people do fret over this sort of thing, then you're going to get in trouble.
Buy orders are fine, just don't buy up everything off the sell column, because that is just wrong.
I mean, as a newbie, I put in really low buy orders for a lot of the faction ammo back in GE, and I made my first 200 mil, 300 mil through doing that, just flipping it, buying up people stuff. People would just sell to buy orders and then reselling it.
Yeah, you can make good money that way.
Yep, I do that at every station we settle.
But yeah, obviously, the more people that do it, I mean, I tried the little trick just because I had some spare slots in the character in Fountain, and I couldn't get anywhere because there was too many other people doing it. But when I first did it in GE, there was hardly anybody doing it. So these things change, you have to, once somebody in one of these classes or Q&As tells you, oh, you can make decent ISK by doing that, chances are you're not going to make decent ISK doing it anymore.
Yep, you've suddenly got competition.
And sadly, that's the way things go. So, you got to innovate. You got to figure these things out.
You're one step ahead of the competition.
Any further questions?
or just make stuff.
Yeah,
that works. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up in about 5 minutes, so if you have any further questions, get them in now, because I have to have my dinner. Are we going to have the silence for the last 5 minutes of this?
Nap time.
Be very quiet.
Welcome to being a trader. Shh.
Hey, people learn what comms are like when you're trading.
Honey, be quiet. I'm trading you. Shh.
I actually I do a different type of trading instead of station trading because that gets really boring for me. I just do market to market trading. I move stuff from one market to another.
It's good, that's another testament to spreadsheets, to be honest. But it's not something I do personally.
Too much work for me.
So that can be extremely.
It's the next level.
Done right. Yeah.
It's there's a character called Rita Jeter who runs the holding channel. Yeah, and I think that person's pretty successful with sort of regional trading, inter-regional trading, whatever you want to call it.
Only somewhat?
Yeah, I think they're very, but I'm being modest.
Gonna ask a trivia question here. What was the first trade hub in Eve? Nah.
I don't think it was Jeter, was it?
Nope.
I don't know. It'd be a complete guess.
Come on, newbies.
Heck.
What?
What do I know?
All right. Let's give a hint.
Concord.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good hint, actually.
No.
It's a system. It's a system that almost all of you have flown through, being that we
You do?
are in faction warfare.
Oh, okay. So I'm there.
Well, it's gonna be an high sec system, I guess. So.
Like Corey?
Well, Ornament would offer. But I don't see the Concord connection there.
So, all right. Yeah,
Spit it out.
It's high sec. Yeah, come on.
Just tell us, man. Just tell us.
All right. All right. Let me give you guys another hint. Begins with a Y.
Your face.
God damn it.
Your mom.
Yeah, that's much preferred. All right. Nobody? All right. It was Yuli. There we go.
What?
Yuli.
Did you help set it up?
That's where Concord's from. Eli.
Yep. So, long
in the middle
time
of the map.
ago, there was no Jita or Amar to Dixie, Renz, heck. And the original place where people would go to buy their shit was Yuli. And it was kind of like it had a lot of gates linking other regions. It was great. Everything was wonderful. But Eve being Eve, a group of people decided to smart bomb Yuli. And at that time, you could actually tank Concord. So they used reps and
Nice.
went around smart bombing everyone in Yuli. and then CCP decided that maybe it wasn't such a good idea to have it this way. So they decentralized it.
And then we
And,
made our own centralization.
Oh,
Yeah.
dangerous systems in HiSec to look out for. Niarja. Watch that system. Watch your ass if you're moving stuff through Niarja.
Is that
Yeah.
that 1.5 between Jita and Amar?
Yep. Watch your ass there.
Okay, I'm going to stop
That's pretty much the only high sec place where I ever actually run a scout.
recording now.